So your new film Compulsion, so it's about a young woman who visits her stepfather's villa and it spirals into danger when she's targeted by con artists. And without giving too much away, events take a turn. There's kind of lots of mystery, a lot of dark secrets. What drew you to this story, and what did you want to explore by making this film?
Well, I mean, it was originally a conversation that came out of, I can't remember, it was a discussion with a distributor or whatever, who was saying that, the genre of the kind of the classic erotic thriller that was predominant in the sort of 80s and 90s, things like, Fatal Attraction and Basic Instinct and stuff like that, had kind of disappeared, and that, it was time somebody brought it back. And I thought, well, because I always enjoyed those movies, so I just thought it might be worth giving that a shot. And then I kind of went down a path of getting into sort of giallo as well and slasher movies and doing all that kind of stuff with it as well and trying to make a psychological thriller. It's like nobody's quite who they appear to be, and there's a lot of guessing as to who's doing what and who's the killer, that kind of stuff. So I just had a lot of fun kind of conjuring up that universe.
Yeah, I love that amazing range of inspirations there. And settings are kind of crucial for your films. Like The Descent had caves, like Dog Soldiers had the isolated Scottish Highlands.
Yeah.
But Compulsion, it kind of traps the characters and the viewers in this villa. And I guess that's kind of idyllic and also suffocating. Like, did you enjoy like flipping the idea and setting kind of Compulsion somewhere really idyllic, really beautiful, but with a kind of dark undertone?
I guess there's probably like some kind of subtext in there of like I'm always setting my films in really grim locations, be it, like Centurion being in the snow and the wind and the rain all the time, or down a cave or wherever. And it was like, I know, I want to set film on like on the coast in the Mediterranean, and that wouldn't that be a nice place to go and shoot a movie? So I'm sure there was a little bit in the back of my mind was like, well, where could we set this thing? Let's make it somewhere sunny and nice and idyllic, and make these villas and things like that. It wasn't specifically written anywhere, but when we went to Malta, I just kind of fell in love with the place and fell in love with the architecture and stuff like that. And so let's make it a Maltese film. Let's make it set on Malta as opposed to using it to double for somewhere else. And let's just embrace that.
Absolutely. I really like the kind of tense pressure cooker atmosphere of it as well. So, um,
Well, it was hot, so like adding the heat in there, and try to get that across in the visuals. It has this like burnt kind of orange look about the whole thing, and then and yeah, the stifling atmosphere of the interiors as well.
and you've obviously talked about classic 80s slashers like Fatal Attraction and then the kind of Italian European slashers as well. Are there any more recent films that have inspired your work in Compulsion that you've drawn upon?
Not that I can think of, to
I
be
love
honest.
what you talked about with the light and horror beneath the kind of sunshine. There's a lot of films like Midsummer, and that's become kind of a prominent
Yeah,
kind of theme and setting. I wondered whether that had inspired your film too.
well, I wasn't directly inspired by that per se, but I mean the idea of horror taking place or horrendous things taking place in broad daylight, has its own sense of scares or horror taking place in idyllic locations as opposed to obviously scary locations. It's just a nice contrast. But also like I mean another motivation for me to do it was that I don't particularly like repeating myself, so I didn't want to just go back and do another straight horror film or something like that. I thought, can I do something different that I've not a genre that I admire, that I've not really done before, as sort of a slasher movie kind of thing. So make it scary, make it bloody, but make it as more of a psychological thriller.
Yeah, and along with that psychological side, you've already talked about you're known for kind of that really visceral, violent edge to your films. Can you talk a bit more about how this film fits within your kind of wider work and filmography and how it breaks new ground in kind of the work that you're doing?
I think certainly in utilizing certain effects and things like that. I mean, there's one standalone sequence kind of in the middle of the film, which is, I don't want to give too much away, but it's a murder sequence, but we did it as a oneer, and that was a challenge that kind of came out of, it was in the script. I think it was just it was a paragraph, didn't really say that much. And then in a production meeting, I was talking to the stunt team, and they were like saying, "Well, this fight sequence, will it? Do you want sort of 20 seconds worth of a fight sequence?" And I thought about it for a moment. I said, "No, can we make it 5 minutes long? And I want to do it in one take." And I want to do practical effects so that the murder takes place in real time with practical blood and stuff like that. And just setting these challenges for myself, not necessarily knowing how we were going to pull it off if we could, but thinking that would look great if we did. And just, and I like doing those kind of challenges. So wherever possible, we did practical effects throughout the film with some CG enhancements, but on the most for the most part, it's practical blood, practical, wounds and all that kind of stuff that goes with it.
Yeah, and kind of the stories and the settings are incredibly intense in your films, but also you draw out some really memorable performances from your cast. And
hmm
you have like a really talented cast, Charlotte Kirk, Zach McGowan on this project. What did they bring to the roles that they played within Compulsion?
Well, Zach had worked before obviously on Black Sails, and I just knew that he's just the loveliest guy. So it's kind of it's always nice to get really nice people to play really nasty people. So that was fun. Playing around with that. Also we got Anna Maria, who I'd seen in 365 Days on Netflix, and she brings a real intensity to it. I mean, she just holds the camera so well. So like it was absolute pleasure working with her and just getting all of them just to play characters who are hiding secrets, and they all got some flip side to their personality. In some cases, it's criminal. In some cases, it's psychotic. And so I just love playing around with that.
And can you talk about what it's like being directed by you? Because you draw such kind of really memorable, sort of extreme performances out of your cast. Like, how does that work, and how do you draw that out of the people you're working with?
I don't know. It's kind of weird to talk in a third person, but I think I try to I create as comfortable an atmosphere on set as possible, and also an atmosphere in which actors can come to me with ideas and talk to me about their approach and all this kind of stuff, and make it as easy as possible. And we had an amazing crew. It was such a blast making this film because it was just fun on set, and I think that helps if you're going to do really dark stuff or go to dark places with characters. That there's an element of lightness on set that they can kind of escape to and relax within. But that's the biggest thing, especially involving, you've got sex scenes and things like that. The level of comfort on set is absolutely essential. The actors have to feel that they are um, safe. That's the thing.
And what do you think in terms of the appeal of your films, like for audiences? The Your films kind of watch or depict people being pushed to their absolute limits in the way you've described. Like, what do you think fans of your work and audiences like about that? And what do you think that kind of messages they draw from that work?
I don't know. I mean, I like to think that people might appreciate that I'm striving to do original material. In the age of sequels, remakes, and reboots, I'm trying to do that a lot of the time. But also not necessarily, doing the same thing every time, and hopefully getting a few surprises and delivering a standard of quality of performances, of production value, and delivering something that's a bit different from what I did last time, but hopefully entertaining. At the end of the day, no matter what I do, a movie should be entertaining. It shouldn't be dull. And even if it's outrageous or bloody or sexy or scary or whatever it is, as long as it's entertaining, that's the key.
Absolutely, yeah. And you've already talked about like the range of stuff you do, like from horror, fantasy, and now a kind of psychological slasher thriller. Are there any other kind of genres or types of films that you want to try next?
Absolutely. I mean, I've got a Western that I want to do, and a horror Western. I've got a couple of war movies I'd like to do. So yeah, I've definitely got a few more genre. A lot of them tend to mix in genre or horror elements or something like that. I mean, all our action movies, I really want to do some more of those, because action is the thing that I love more than anything. So, that's what I want to do. So yeah, a few things to do. I'm not done
Fabulous.
yet.
Oh, that's so great. And in terms of, so say fans who know your work already, if you were programming like Compulsion back to back with another one of your films, which would you choose to kind of screen alongside Compulsion so that it was kind of representative of your work?
Oh. That is interesting. I mean, to be representative of my work, I suppose you might want to put it together with The Descent on the basis that, it's psychological horror, but it's also like a strong female angle to it. Then again, you might want to put it together with something like Duchess because it's like two films set in a, hot sunny place, which is, but very, very different kinds of films. Um, yeah, maybe those.
Yeah, and on that, I love your depiction of women in horror. Can you say something about kind of the importance of women characters to the horror genre, and kind of in terms of wrestling with themes of identity, and other things like feminism, like how important women are to the horror genre?
I think I always try and make strong characters. Not necessarily physically strong, but strong in terms of their personality, in terms of their character, in terms of their sheer will. And with these two characters, it was interesting because well, it's very difficult to talk about them without giving anything away, but they both have a lot of strength and intrigue and mystery about them. But they're certainly not subservient in any way to anything. So, they're in control of their own destiny in a lot of sense. And I think, with all of my female characters throughout all my work, I've tried to do that of making them independent. They're strong, they're feisty, they're independent. Hopefully they're smart. A lot of cases that they are smart. So that kind of strength as opposed to just physical strength. Although I also have characters who are physically strong as well and who go through absolute hell to survive in various films. So yeah, I push them to their limits.
Absolutely, you do. And one final question, if you could describe Compulsion in 3 words, of which 3 words would you choose to try and get people to come and watch this new film?
Uh, Blood and Sunshine.
Excellent. That's a tagline. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Neil. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you very much.
thank you very much, Susan, too. Okay, take care and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you, Christina.
Bye
Bye
now.
bye.